Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another biology class. Today, we're going to be looking at the study of life and what that looks like. And this is part one of two, so let's get into it. Okay, so a quick question to kind of focus our minds and get us going on where this lesson's going to be. And that is, what are the characteristics of living things? And I have this very cute little Jabberwocky here. Obviously not a real animal, but if it was alive, what would its characteristics be? It's kind of what I want you to have in the back of your mind as we're going through this lesson. So, some new vocabulary that you want to keep an eye out for as we go through this lesson: adaptation, biology, development, growth, homeostasis, organism, organization, reproduction, response, species, and stimulus. All vocabulary that probably you've heard maybe once or twice somewhere else, maybe in a life science class in middle school, but some of which might be entirely new, and that's okay. Review vocabulary for today is something that hopefully you know coming into ninth grade is what environment is, or what an environment is. And the definition, according to the textbook, is the living and non-living things that surround an organism and with which the organism interacts. So if we think of maybe one of these shrubs as our organism, then it's going to be all of the trees and all of the grasses that are around it, and maybe animals that might be there too. Those are the living things that surround it. And then it would be the soil and the water and the sun, which would be the non-living things that surround it. All of those together are that little orange shrub's environment. Okay, so let's go first to the word biology. We're introducing you to biology, and it's from the Greek. It has a prefix bio, meaning life, and logos, or ology, meaning to study. So biology is literally translated as the study of life. So in biology, you'll study things such as the origins and history of life, and once living things, fossilized things, the structures of living things. You'll study how living things interact with one another and how living things function as a whole unit or as populations. Furthermore, the study of life involves research of things like disease. A biologist will develop technologies. They will improve agriculture if they can, and then they will preserve the environment if they are able. So biologists do a host of very interesting and useful and meaningful things. Now, an organism is anything that has or has once had all of the following characteristics, because as an organism develops or gets older, some of these characteristics might change. So it's made of one or more cells. This is true with the exception of abiogenesis, the origin of the first cell, which we'll talk about. Other than that one sort of kind of miraculous event, all other organisms are assumed to have come from cells, but there has to have been, if you rule out any other choice other than nature, a materialistic origin to the first cell, and so a cell came from a not cell in abiogenesis. But other than that one event that's assumed, then everything comes from cells. Respond to stimuli or stimulus. So that's you poke something and it reacts, it responds to stimulus. It displays organization. Life has a high degree of organization that has to be maintained for things to stay alive, so that's a good one. Requires energy. If it doesn't require energy, it's probably no longer alive. Grows and adapts or develops, and that's definitely a good one. maintains homeostasis, which is an internal balance, and we'll talk a lot more about homeostasis later, can undergo reproduction, or it reproduces itself sexually or asexually. That's a characteristic of life, and has adaptations that evolve over time. Okay, so all of these things are required to define something as completely alive. And that's a great place to stop for now. I have some questions for you. And after those questions, we'll pick up with the second half of this lecture. So thank you so much for listening.